What's up, YouTube? Last week, another large American company decided to file for bankruptcy, Chapter 11. And that is, if you can't tell by the thumbnail, that's Hertz. Now, Hertz filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which it doesn't mean that it's dead. It just means that it has an opportunity to reorganize its debt, depending on the bank. It's been reported that Hertz owes about $24 billion in debt and about $1 billion in cash on hand. So with that massive amount of debt, what does the company do? That's right, it's going to start laying people off. Hertz laid off about 12,000 of its employees and furloughed another 4,000. They're planning to cut their overall, as far as purchasing new cars, by 90% and cutting out unnecessary spending. They're hoping that these reductions can save them about $2.5 billion per year. Hertz is a 102-year-old company. So the first thing that I think of when I hear something like this is, how did this happen? And doing a little bit of research, you'll find out that Hertz switched CEOs 4 times within the last 6 years. And I believe leadership is fundamental as far as for keeping a company healthy and keeping the vision instilled as far as being the driving force of which direction that you want the company to go. So a quick side note, I actually used to work at a Hertz as a flex representative a few years ago. And one of the things, because I'm always very inquisitive about business, that's why I decided to start the channel. And so we would either fly out or drive up to like the closest training area, and they'd fly somebody in, like a senior rep, to give us the background on the company. We learn how to do sales and pretty much the Hertz way of doing things. And so me being me, I asked, where does most of the revenue come from in the company? And the response was from the airport via business rentals. And it really makes sense because even prior to working at Hertz, even after working at Hertz, when I think of rental cars, it's mostly enterprise, even though Hertz is about 50 years older than enterprise. And even whenever I've been inside of whenever I've been in a car accident or someone's needed to rent a car due to like a claim, the insurance companies, no matter which one I was dealing with, have always went through enterprise. And I believe that's a huge market that that Hertz is missing out on. Having that partnership is definitely a way to diversify outside of the airport locations and simply just having satellite locations just so that enterprise doesn't have that large market share, and that you do offer some availability outside of airports. One argument that people always make, that I've been seeing a lot of, is that how come these billion-dollar companies have had 10 great years and only 2 months into the coronavirus or 2 months into hardship, they're filing for bankruptcy, things like JCPenney. And while I do agree with that in some cases, but with the lack of leadership and Hertz running up a $50 million deficit back as far as 2017, Hertz has been in trouble for quite some time. And I believe a lot of these companies that are going bankrupt have been in trouble for quite some time. It's more so of the coronavirus just exposing poor money management and weak leadership versus the companies just taking most of the profit. So what does this mean for Hertz? I don't believe that Hertz will completely go out of business, although that is completely up to the banks as far as people that they owe money to and what agreement they can reach as far as being able to settle on payments or final payoff amount. I do believe that going forward in the future, if Hertz is to survive, that it's going to be fundamental that they reach out and branch outside of the airports and just traveling. I know that's been their bread and butter for pretty much the last 100 years, but I believe it's fundamental. If they're expecting to compete with companies like Enterprise and Avis, they're going to have to find a way to tap into the insurance market. That's fundamental. And as far as leadership as well, when things are rocky, I'm not sure if it's just a matter of the shareholders aren't seeing the response that they want, or they're just looking for faster turnarounds. But changing CEOs 4 times in the last 6 years, you're asking for an oversight. I really hope that Hertz doesn't become the blockbuster of car rental companies. Failure to adapt is asking to fail. it's going to be crucial for them going forward to find steady leadership and clarify the vision as far as to the employees. And it's actually sad to see a company like Hertz, especially with me working there. I can't speak for the company as a whole, but as the location that I worked at, as far as them laying off that amount of people, from what I can tell, Hertz was very loyal to the people that work there, because they were definitely some people that had spent most of their lives there at the Hertz location, and they were older now and not as productive. And Hertz kept them around. They found things for them to do. And even while I was there, one of the sales reps, as far as our commission plan, I'm sure most of you know, when you buy a rental car, we'll ask you, do you want like insurance and cover your belongings inside the car, etc. And we usually get a commission for things like that. And as far as for the tiers that we'd hit, they would set the goal for the month. And that one, if it was, for example, if you had to sell $500 in that month and you sold $499, then you didn't get any commission on the $499 in sales that you made. Now, while I was there, they changed that and you got commission. It was still the tiers like 500, 1,000, 1,500. But let's say at 500, you got 2%. After 1,000, you got 4%, and after 1,500, anything over above that, you got 6%. So you got commission on everything that you sold instead of just having, if you missed it, you missed it. And I took that as Hertz making an effort to, pay their employees better. So it's actually really sad to see them have to let go so many of the people, because I know that was one of the things that they were trying to improve on. Also, a side note here, Hertz is going to be selling about 750,000 cars into the market to free up cash. So if you're looking for a used car, this is going to be a great time to think about purchasing one. Contrary to popular belief, rental car agencies actually take really good care of their companies. I can attest for that. Every time routine maintenance came up or something as far as scheduling, we took it to a outside dealer, and not like one of the ones on like the sketchy part of town, like in a garage or something like that. We took it to an actual car dealer and they did the repairs. And I know at the airport we typically have newer cars anyway, and with lower miles, so we typically got rid of them once they got around like 30 to 40,000 miles anyway. But I can attest that the cars are very well taken care of. This is going to be a great time to buy a used car, because now with that influx demand and Hertz pushing out so many new cars, especially right now, since no one is really looking to spend the extra money and America as a whole is saving at a record rate. If you're looking to buy a car, you might want to think about doing it now. With that being said, what is your experience with Hertz? Any concerns or thoughts as far as for a company, that 102-year-old company filing for bankruptcy? And by the way, for those of you that are looking to invest, Webull is giving 2 free stocks when you invest $100 or more, one being valued at up to $1,400. The link is going to be in the description below. And if you're looking to get an immediate return as far as on your investment, simply invest $100 and you'll get 2 free stocks with that one up to $1,400 of value. Thank you, and until next time.